Hey guys, so I just filmed a live. It was more of a rant, but I just wanted to come and tell you my story of why I left Taco Bell. So it's a pretty short story. I moved back into the dorms before, you know, my crazy roommates, the last ones. I'll have to refilm that story because I had to take it down for some reasons. So I started Taco Bell. I think it was like probably May. I think it was May 2016, and I'm trying to look at the camera more. My mom yells at me for that. But I started at Taco Bell May 2016, and I was working 2 jobs at the time. And I told them, hey, I can't start till August. No, it must have been June 2016. I was like, I can't start till this time because I put in my 2 weeks. Or I'm going to put in my 2 weeks. And they're like, okay, that's totally understandable. I got hired right on the spot. And they were all cool about it. And the main owner guy, he's like, oh, you got a really great resume working in the restaurant business. You'll make it to manager within a couple months. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Okay. And I'm like, well, here's my school schedule. I can't work on these days or at these times. I can work on these days, but, don't schedule me when I'm going to class. So I was watching my breath. I get a call and they're like, hey, can you come in? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's my day off. I guess I can start coming in now if you want me to. And they were like, yeah, we really need your help. So I went in and I sat at a computer all day. I was driving 2 hours to sit at a computer all day. And then I drove back and they're like, can you come in tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, it's still my day off. I'll come in. I did. And then the next day they call me and I'm like, listen, I have work. I have to put in my 2 weeks. I told you this. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's fine. Come in next week. You're scheduled all next week. And I'm like, did you not hear me? This was my first warning. I should have known. So I went to go put in my 2 weeks, and that's another story, so I will save that one for later. And I go in the next week, and they didn't train me. They're just like, oh, hop online. We'll kind of train you as you go. And then they get mad at you when you put a little bit too much anything in it. They're like, always put 2 handfuls of lettuce in it. And I'm like, that's a scam, but okay. For a taco, 2 handfuls. I mean, they're cheap, but I'm still. Taco Bell was very clean. I will give them that. I worked in some nasty restaurants, and it was one of the cleanest. They were on top of it. So I ended up working with this manager. He was probably like 2 or 3 years older than me. And he would be nice one second, and then he'd start screaming at me another. And then he would touch me, like, being like, oh, haha, you're so funny. And, like, grabbing my arm, and I'm like, don't touch me. I don't like that. He'd continue to do it. And then he'd get mad at me. And then, like, you were supposed to get free meals. He'd yell at me when I went and got my free meal. And when I'd go on break, he's like, why are you sitting down? You're not supposed to be sitting down. I'm like, I literally clocked out on my 10. You can't tell me what to do. I'm on break. And then maybe it was 15s. 15s or 10s. I can't remember. I worked so many jobs. And then, let's see, that went on for a good few months. Like, okay. That situation went on for a few months. And I was at this time seeing somebody that I really shouldn't have been, and that's another story for another day too. A lot of these stories tie into each other, which it makes sense. I mean, it all happened pretty much the same time. So I started getting scheduled for class days, and I was like, look, owner, I can't come in on these days. And he's like, oh yeah, we'll fix the schedule. And like, they kept scheduling me on school days or class times. And I just stopped showing up on those days. And I get a call from the managers being like, where the heck are you? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, look at my schedule. I told them I could not work on these times. You keep scheduling me on these times, I'm not coming in. I gave you my hours that I could work. Legally, you cannot schedule me. So they would get angry and blah, blah, blah. And then this one time, don't do this, kids. I decided that me and the guy I was hanging out with at the time, well, he invited me. He's like, let's go to the beach for a beach day. And I was like, okay. So I get to Merced, and I realize I didn't call out from work, which wasn't until like 8 o'clock at night. So this was a good, like, I think it was 7 a.m. And I get to Merced, and I was like, hey, I'm really not feeling well. I think I have food poisoning. And the owner's like, sure, what did you eat? And I was like, well, my roommate made some meals last night, and she's not very good at, like, prepping her food. So I just don't feel good. And he's like, I don't believe you. You're being ridiculous. You're never in. So, you know what? I don't care. And he hung up on me. And I'm like, I mean, I'm lying, but I'm the one who keeps messing up my schedule. I'm the one who should be angry here. And so he, I guess, clocked me out for that day and was like, she's not coming in, blah, 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 blah. I don't know why I just gave him a voice that I use for one of my ex-boyfriends, but, yeah, that's what happened that day. I went to the beach, I had fun, and then it got depressing. You know, the usual thing that happened with that guy. And, I kept getting scheduled for my class dates, so I kept calling out. I was like, you know what, I don't go here. And then one of my old roommates, which she was really nice, we had a falling out. Don't really exactly know what happened, but that's life. And she's like, hey, I work at Walmart. Why don't you apply here? It's great. And I was like, you know what? I should. I'm going to do that. And I went in, I put in my application in, and I went to go talk to the manager, the night manager. And I was like, hey, my name's Hannah. I put my application in, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you want to go in the back for an interview? And I was like, okay. And I got that job right on the spot. And since it was overnights, I didn't have to worry about my classes, which I should have because I ended up not going to class. So I went in and I was like, hey, I'm going to put my 2 weeks in. And he's like, why? And I'm like, well, I mean, they're offering me better pay, better hours. And then he's like, I'll give you more hours if you'd actually show up to work. And I was like, I would actually show up to work if you scheduled me when I'm not in class. And he's like, and I'm like, and he's like, okay, come pick up your final check next week. Or come drop your clothes off and pick up your final check or something. So I didn't drop off my clothes. I ended up getting my check. Another thing about this Taco Bell, because it's privately owned, they didn't pay me very much at all. Like, I would work a certain amount of hours and I'd get, like, less than half of that. Which, I mean, I did my taxes and they couldn't do anything about it, so I guess, I mean, they're doing it legally somehow. But, I don't get it. But Yeah, that was my job at Taco Bell. I did go in like a month later for breakfast, and they screwed up my food, so they gave me like 30 extra items. Because they're like, oh my gosh, we miss you so much. We wish you'd come back. And I'm like, you know, I'm not coming back. But thank you. We still eat there. We go all the time because I love Taco Bell. Oh, that's cutting the table. As you can see, I did a Taco Bell mukbang. That was in Fresno, though, so that has nothing to do with the one I work at. But, yeah, that was my experience working at Taco Bell and why I left, and yeah. So I hope you guys have a fantastic night, day, evening, whenever you're watching this. And remember, be happy in whatever walk of life you're in, because that's what matters the most. Bye!